Okay, I'm going to push.
Hello, everyone. So here is Moonlight Soul, and this is another episode of the Triple Moon Goddess being Double Moon Goddess at the moment because it's just the two of us for this lunation again. And this time, me and Adrienne, this is Adrienne from Just Kidding Astrology, my co-host. We met together to talk about the upcoming supermoon, which is the full moon in Aries. Adrienne, welcome back. It's nice to have you again. Tell us
Oh,
how
thank
you've
you.
been.
I'm glad to be here. Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. A lot of changes happening on the home front. We did a retreat this weekend, talking about essential needs and yoga and meditation, and it was a good weekend. Something that we'll do again in the future. But I'm here and I'm ready to talk about the moon.
Yep, because the energy has shifted. We had the equinox, and I believe that was the occasion for your retreat, the equinox, the shift of the
Yeah.
energies. And yeah, now we are definitely heating up because even today, when we're recording, this moon is in Aquarius. So there is a lot of masculine energy going on in the sky. So yeah, there's a lot to cover.
A little bit of acceleration. So shall I pull up the chart?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk
All
about
right.
it.
All right. And there we go.
Perfect. Yeah, so this
Awesome.
is the chart for the Eastern time for you guys in the US, 5:57 a.m.
Yep, for the Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, for me,
Um,
actually, at the time I will be in England, so it will be at 10 o'clock and 57 minutes in the morning. So you just have to adjust it to wherever you are in the world. But either way, it's going to be happening, I believe, for all of us all over the world on the September 29th, which is this Friday.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. So let's dive in.
All right. Well, the sun has moved into Libra for this lunation, and the moon in Aries. So I think it's interesting because the nodes of the moon are in the Libra and Aries, and the light is shining on how we relate to other people
Absolutely.
and how we are inwardly taking our new direction. And I was thinking about how the new moon was in Virgo, where we made these adjustments that we needed to make within ourselves. And now we're bringing that into the world, this new sense of self. And the sun is shining on Libra, how the outside world is relating to this new self that we're bringing in. So I think that that's perfect for, the flow forward. Yeah, not a lot has changed in the backdrop. That we're still have Pluto squaring the nodes, where the underlying current is that we're changing the way that we relate to other people and ourselves. The way that we take authority from the outer world is shifting to the inside, where we choose for ourselves, where we're beginning to learn how to write our own stories. And this flip-flopping back and forth between the nodes is showing us how our old way of acting and of seeing ourselves is really needing to shift. And we'll be heading toward a direction of being more guided from within and spontaneous, and what really excites us, and in directions that we want to head. And yeah, I think that this lunation is just sort of highlighting that for us, as we inwardly, our inner world is beginning to fixate on these inner needs that we have, and these inner desires, and how the outer world is going to react to that. So I think that that's what a lot of this lunation is about.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating to me that both Sun and Mars are in a closing phase to the South Node, and Chiron and obviously Moon also are in a closing phase to the North Node, ruled by Mars. And at the moment, Venus, the ruler of all three, South Node, Mars, and Sun, is actually having a mutual reception with the Sun, because Venus is still in Leo. And another interesting thing, as we know, this is the last lunation before the eclipses. The next lunation, the new moon in Libra, and will be the solar eclipse. And at that point, Mars will be in a new phase to the South Node. So there is obviously a process of culmination, and then the process of new beginning starting within this period of 2 weeks. Actually, the exact conjunction between Mars and South Node, as we spoke prior to recording, is happening on October 4th, which is just before Mercury will move into the sign of Libra, and it's just before Venus will move into the sign of Virgo. So I really feel that also, as we were discussing, everything is kind of accelerating now, because there will be a lot of shifts happening in October, a lot of changes. And I know that, well, I know for myself, but I can observe that a lot of people are feeling the shift since the equinox, that the energy is definitely shifting. Things are starting to move forward, speeding up. And I feel that that's also because of the upcoming Mars and Sun conjunction with the South Node.
Yeah. Yep, that one. Did you say that's going to happen on the 4th?
The South Node Mars is on the 4th, and the Sun and the South Node conjunction is on October 18th. And subsequently, the Mars and Sun conjunction will happen on November 18th, but that will be in Scorpio. But there is all these interesting conjunctions, which always conjunction always represents endings of something and beginning of something new. And there is all of that happening because even from the shape of the chart, we can see it's kind of becoming everything on one end, and the other side, everything on the other hand. It's kind of like all these oppositions.
Yes. And it was like that a little bit the last lunation, where it's like we're integrating this new way of being, and re-looking at what we still have. The outer planets are all retrograde, so we're still, accelerating through these old ways, these things that need to change, for us to be able to take this new direction. So, the universe gives us a little time, but not much.
No, not yet, not that much. I mean, I feel that the time, obviously, something is going to get seeded, and also with the last lunation, the last eclipse in Taurus, which will be the second eclipse in October, the lunar eclipse, which will be in Taurus, the last one of the past 18 months. Which again, I just want to remind everyone that the second, because we had 2 new moons in Aries this year. The second one of the 2 was the solar eclipse. So the previous Aries lunation, which was the new moon in Aries number 2, because the first one was new moon in Aries on 0 degrees in March. Right. The second one was new moon in Aries on 29 degrees and 50 minutes. And that was on April 19, 20th, depending where people were in the world, just before Sun entered Taurus. And that was the hybrid solar eclipse. And now we'll have the first eclipse in Libra and the last eclipse in Taurus. So again, it's like a mixed energy for us. And of course, during the time of the new moon in Aries, the nodes were still in Taurus and in Scorpio. So we can see how the energy is shifting. And now we're coming to the point, well, we still have the last eclipse in Taurus to look forward to. But after that, it will be just the Libra Aries. And as we know, after that, slowly, all the planets will station direct. Actually, Pluto is stationing direct before the eclipse on October 11th. But then slowly, one after the other, they will all station direct, last one of which will be Uranus, but not until the end of January, by which point Pluto will already be in Aquarius. But that's why I feel that between now and the end of the year, there is this, like, people are shifting gears, like kind of shifting gears, shifting direction. And then from next year onwards, I mean, we still have one more retrograde of Pluto into Capricorn next summer. Yeah. But then, especially from November next year, when Pluto moves into Aquarius full time for 20 years, that is a big shift coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when Pluto moves into Aquarius, we're going to need to be guided from the inside. I mean, that's Aquarius. We're accelerating our individuality. And so during these times, we're shifting from this outer way where we let the outer world guide us, and we have to, and it's happening, slow enough. Things are happening. I mean, I know in my own life, I can see new things happening and I can see old things happening again, but I act differently.
Yeah.
And it's just showing me that I'm moving forward. It's, it's the signal from the outside that, yeah, I'm changing and I'm moving forward, but it's all for all of us to get ready for this shift into Aquarius. And like you said, it's going to go back to Capricorn because there's going to be some things that we've missed that we'll need to see again. A little bit more of our own authority will need to be instilled before we move into Aquarius permanently in 2025. So
yeah, and I feel, just piggybacking on what you said about this, and this is what I've been talking about in my what I call personal share of astrology video, when I talk about my personal stuff going on, because I feel it makes it more relatable to people. And I can observe it in my reality and in my current backdrop, being back at my parents' place for the, like not much longer, only 3 more days. But how I have the opportunity to respond in a new way to the same old circumstances, to the same old stories. And I also feel that because of this Jupiter Uranus closing phase, this conjunction that will not take place until April, but it's close enough already, we can count it. And this Venus that made her 3 squares, and actually on a day of the full moon in Aries, Venus will make the square number 3 to Uranus. So that will be the third one of the 3. She already made all 3 squares to Jupiter. And Venus is the ruler of both of them. She's also the ruler of the resolutions nodes, the skip step from Pluto square in the nodes. The resolution is the south node. So I really feel that this is a very important aspect of closing the old cycles of that outdated story that we told ourselves about our self-worth, about what we can and cannot do, because Venus had her retrograde and now she's going direct, and she's in Leo. And what is Leo? Leo is about you being who you are, you being yourself. And it's not easy because it's scary. Because what if we get rejected? What if the other people will not understand? We have to protect that. We have to hide that innocent child within us. But I feel with this Uranus and Jupiter squaring, being in the square with Venus, it's just not going to cut it anymore, because this is the first quarter square, which is the taking an action, the crisis in action. We have to take an action. And Uranus will be the ruler of Pluto for 20 years. So we have to really pay attention to what is going on everywhere in a chart, not just with this moon on its own. But Venus is the ruler of this, of Sun, Mars, and the South Node, which is obviously part of this lunation, even though it is in Aries. So everything is literally working together.
Yes. Yeah. I see that. It's to me, I love it.
Yeah, and
Ready
it's
for the
also
shift and the change.
it's also remember, before Venus went retrograde, she was making, there is this yod, right? The finger of God between Venus and Pluto.
That's right.
Yeah, and Venus and Neptune, and that is coming into action again. I mean, she's a little bit too far from Pluto to be in conjunction, but it's getting there. So before she transits into Virgo, she will make the in conjunction to both, and still there will be a point where it will be a yod. So
yeah, it looks like there's a yod actually between where Neptune. So it looks like it's Neptune, Venus, and Mars. Is that Mars? I'm going to click on the Neptune just to see if it, yeah. Oh, it's the south node.
Oh, yes, the south node. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because
it's still hanging around.
And the Uranus from the other end, it's still like the Uranus and south node also.
Yeah. Here, let me take that out.
Yeah, there is a lot action happening, which is still telling us that not everything is clear yet, but we have more conscious understanding, because all the personal planets are going direct now. So
Yes.
Venus, Mercury, obviously Mars hasn't been retrograde, but they are all going direct. So with this impersonal planet and outer planet, they go retrograde like 5-6 months every year. So we cannot stop our life all the time. But with the personal planets now going direct, I feel that there is much more understanding, like, because we had the time to reflect in our personal everyday experience, and now we can put this information into this process that the outer planets are going through, which is the
Yes.
more long lasting, the more evolutionary process, which is swaying
Yes.
us in a different direction.
Yes. Almost like it's the personal planets going direct are giving us the opportunity to put what we have integrated into action,
Yes.
while the backdrop, the outer planets, are doing the same thing, just at a slower rate. And as they switch one at a time, it will help the evolution of all of it move forward for the future.
I just the word recalibrating drop into my head. I think that's what
Recalibrating. Yes.
the personal planet are passing. That's what, exactly, because right today, actually, as we recording this, not, you know, this chart, but today in the sky we have this third trine between Mercury and Jupiter, which I also feel that is very interesting. That I think this square between Venus and Uranus is the last one of this free of each. You know, we had the free squares, Venus, Jupiter, free squares, Venus, Uranus, free trines between Venus and Chiron, and free trines between Mercury and Jupiter. So there is this lot of frees, and I really I feel this interesting that with this lunation they are all coming to close. Like the job is done, you know, like we gone backwards, forward, and now this Mars is like, okay, now we're going ahead. Okay, we
Now
know
we're
what we're
going
doing
ahead.
now, we're going ahead. So
Yep.
the word recalibration, I think it's quite a good one to use for what's going on right here.
Yeah. And Mars culminating with the South Node is culminating this old way of relating outside of ourselves to very soon start a very new, our new, you know, the new way that we are relating to ourselves and to the outside. Because as we change inside, when the new moon was in Virgo, we were making these inner self adjustments to be able to take our step forward. And as Mars crosses the South Node, we're going to be moving in a direction that really, when you make those changes inside, the outside is automatically going to change. If you change the way you are, you're going to create that, reflect that outside of us. And so our relationships are going to change. We're going to change the way that we relate. And this is the culmination of Mars and the South Node. And then we'll be starting a very new phase as Mars moves into Scorpio.
Yeah.
Where we will experience some confrontations.
Especially I feel when Sun will conjunct Mars, because Sun has been chasing close behind Mars all this time in all these signs, but Mars has been one step ahead. So Mars, as the ruler of the North Node, currently is leading the way, and then the Sun is illuminating that. Mars is pointing the finger, like, okay, we need to do this and this and this and this, and then eventually they're going to have the conjunction in November in Scorpio season. Well, yes, Mars will be in Scorpio, Sun will be in Scorpio. Exactly. It's going to be in the Scorpio season. It will be literally right few days after the first eclipse. And also Mars just had the opposition with Chiron few days ago. You know, a few days ago as we're recording this, obviously by the time we have this full moon, it will have been almost a week ago. But that's also very interesting, because now Mars is past the opposition point. He's ahead now, so he's in the scorpionic phase, you know, the scorpionic side of the opposition. So Mars is definitely ready to kick some punch soon. And Chiron here is in a closing phase to North Node, so that is going to reset next February when them two conjunct. And it's what is interesting about that one is that that's going to happen just before the full moon in Virgo. You know, so we can see how the cycles are preparing us for these closures and this reset and the starting of a new cycles. So just as you were saying, and this is something that I feel very strongly about, that the planets always gives us a taster and a prelude, like this is the energy we're working with, but don't worry, you have time. Of course, when there is a Uranus involved, the time can be just quite like unexpected, but there is some unexpected shake up. But in essence, we always have time to integrate the energy, unless we are stubborn and we don't want to move, like the Taurus that I am personally. And then the Uranus comes and moves me.
Well, sometimes it's that way. Either way, we're going to move. You
Either
can do
way,
it
exactly.
willingly, or, you can have the universe help you.
Exactly. And there is no coincidence with all these closing phases and conjunction. I mean, Sun is going to square Pluto. We're going to have Sun and Pluto conjunction at the at the end of Capricorn season. But either way, we can see all this stuff is culminating. Like all this stuff is culminating. We have very few new phases going on at the moment. Okay, yes, Moon is in a new phase to Neptune, but predominantly there are closing phases. Everything is in a closing. Okay, Saturn and Pluto are in new phase, but most of the things that's going on are culminating. And this is where we see how there is a time, because things are not all finished yet. The past pattern is not finished yet, which is why the Pluto, as a square in the nose, as a skip step, is pointing to the south node, which is making us to acknowledge and reevaluate how we've been relating all this time. And
Yes.
that is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves, which we had the opportunity to learn deeper lesson about during the North Node going through Taurus. But now North Node is in Aries, so now is the time
Yes.
to act on it.
Yes, absolutely. And, Saturn being ahead of Pluto is this, it's a slow moving, uh, alignment where Saturn is going to go all the way back. I think I looked, it was at 0 degrees. It's not
Yeah.
going to go back all the way to Aquarius, but it's
No.
going to start again.
Yeah,
It's going
literally.
to 0, and then it's going to move forward. And it's going to take some time, a couple of years for it to get through. But this is the part where it's like we're dissolving these outer structures so that we can rebuild them in our own way.
Yeah.
The way that we need to be able to, the boundaries that we need to create for ourselves that allow us to feel safe, to be able to do those new energies that are going to begin after this culmination period stops. Because it'll culminate, but that's to give us the energy to begin new ways of being, new ways of acting in the world.
And I can just feel that, again, I can only refer to my personal environment because that's the one I'm observing and learning from. But things are getting very uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially if they're re-experiencing the same patterns showing up. So even like someone I had a conversation with the other day, and they said it's just becoming unbearable, like these old patterns that are showing up, which before were kind of like uncomfortable but bearable, but things are heating up. Like I feel that these things that are just not working for people, they are becoming so intense that they're just like, I'm becoming unbearable. Like I cannot keep doing this anymore. I cannot keep accepting this kind of I don't know, approach from all the people anymore. And this is what is really like, you either jump or you pushed energy that is really forcing us to reestablish new boundaries, because
Yes.
now we cannot unknow what we know, especially with regards to ourselves and what we need and value, with this North Node having this 18 months transit through Taurus until July this year. And now with this fiery energy that's going on there, and I mean, so many signs are now in the fires, so many planets are in the fire signs, even though we do have some water present, little bit of earth. I mean, it's only good old Mercury and Pluto over there in earth signs. Well, okay, Jupiter and Uranus, so we have some earth present, but I still feel that there is this shift of energy where it's becoming very masculine,
Yep.
and very it's a go time energy.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of fire and air, fueling it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just even like what I was tapping into in the video that I made was that there is this need for changing the story, to rewrite the story, to start a fresh page. And I can see that even from the clients, that because they always come representing a certain theme. It's just the way it works out with my bookings. And it's literally like even the reading I did today for a client this morning, and I said, like, to me it feels like carte blanche, like a fresh clean page, like you now in the process of closing all these old cycles, And then at the end of what you're gonna get, it's like universe will say, okay, now you can choose again. You can choose whatever you want. So I feel that's the process that we are going through at the moment, because as above so below, we can see in the sky all this closing of the cycles between the planets, and that's what's happening in our personal and collective manifestation, where we are closing the cycles, we are changing the patterns, we are changing the pattern of relating to one another, because everything in this reality is relational. And then on the other side of it, we'll have the opportunity to reestablish a new pattern, which we can always change. And this is the thing that people struggle with, understanding that we always have the choice. You can always, yes, we get to the point from the lovers to the devil. You make a choice, it doesn't always work out, but you don't have to stick with the choice forever. You can always change it and start again. And this is, I feel, what the planets are telling us with the Saturn, the Capricorn energy. Pluto is culminating in Capricorn. It's 15 years transit. It's going to be there for a little bit longer, but not much longer. Saturn is in Pisces. It's the same energy, the same flavor. Saturn will be in Pisces till 2026. And we know that it's going to be a very dominant year for us because of all the big changes that will be happening with the big boys, the big planets shifting into different signs. But this is exactly what we're going through, is this closing of the old cycles. So then there is this carte blanche, this fresh page, which you can draw whatever you want on it, but it's the matter of taking a responsibility for whatever choice it is, because it's going to lead somewhere. But it's also the fact that when you feel the freedom to make your choice, you also feel the freedom to change it.
Absolutely. And you have to remember with the Aries, it's brand new. You don't know what's going to happen. It's a trial and error energy. So you can try something, it might not work. So okay, you can adjust and do something different. You know, it's not like sealed in cement,
Yeah.
but people feel like maybe because it feels like the world that we're shifting from is sort of sealed that way, that maybe people think that if they make a change that they're locked in. But I feel like the Aries energy makes the world wide open, whatever you can feel, and we'll be able to adjust. I mean, Venus is getting ready to move into Virgo. There's going to be a lot of adjustments in what we need and how we get our needs met. And with the nodes in Aries, the North Node in Aries, we're going to get to change directions. We're going to get to trial and error, anything that our heart desires. Really, it's a time to start new things and to not have fear about doing it. Because if you make a mistake, okay, that's how we learn and that's how we grow. So it's okay to make mistakes. Do the mistakes. I was just talking to you beforehand. I started this process of doing retreats. I'd never done one before, but it went well, and I got to learn what I would change for the next time. This is the Virgo archetype. We're going to need to shift if things didn't work out the way you had expected them to, or you didn't like the way, because sometimes it surprisingly works out great. If you want to change them, we can shift. Nothing is in cement. Life is fluid in that way.
And especially now with the Mercury just stationing direct recently in Virgo, and Virgo obviously is all about this adjustment and the path. I always say that to me, and I could be definitely quoted wrong by other astrologers, but to me Virgo is the hero's journey. Is the process of learning and adjusting and falling and getting up again and trying again. It's like the hero's journey. And Mercury being in his rulership or exaltation by the traditional astrology point of view, Virgo is the point of exaltation for Mercury, even though in modern astrology is Aquarius. Still, either way, Mercury is powerful in Virgo, and it's still in Virgo. Even during this lunation, it's still in Virgo. And Mercury is actually telling us that, well, there are multiple options available. You just need to choose whatever you want to choose and try to, like, master it. But again, because it's a mutable energy, yes, you can always try again. And what you are left with is the experience, is the tool which maybe you will use at some point, different point in your life. You don't even know what it will be good for. But there is nothing is ever wasted in the universe. Even the experiences which we look back at and say, oh, I wish I never done that. But you never know when you might need that which you learned from that experience. So don't ever underestimate any experience that you've ever had and beat yourself up about the choices you made at that time, which might have not worked out, because you never know when you will need those skills that you had the opportunity to accumulate. And that is the Virgo, is the humbling process of being a human, of being alive, and being a hero of your own journey. And eventually you look back at your life and you be glad you've done all these things, because that's the only thing you're going to be taking with you to the other side, is the experience. And it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, because on the other side it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
only here where we judge it as a good or bad, the polarity, duality of this this experience that we have here in three-dimensional reality. But on the other side, do you think that like the spirit world goes like, oh, you are a bad person for doing that? They look at us with love and say, well, they're doing their best, they're just trying. Just like when you look at the child, you're not going there and beat it up because it doesn't know how to talk when it's born and stuff. Like, it's so easy just to use this example of children, because everybody can relate to that. Everybody was a child at some point, or observe
Definitely.
children how they behave. And you're not going to go and judge it for not knowing what is not meant to know just yet. And that's how we are being looked at, that, well, we're doing our best, it might not be perfect, but we're learning, right? And eventually we're going to master something.
Yeah. And so with the thought patterns, the Mercury running through Virgo, Virgo can be the step-by-step process to gaining new knowledge through that trial and error. But it can also be, in its lower form, the thing that will prevent you from taking steps, because you think, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, this won't be good, or you judge it in a way that it's negative, instead of just even allowing the negative experiences to be the learning process. Those things that don't work out the way we want them, we can adjust them, or we can change directions. This is where the Virgo, and so with Mercury in Virgo, we're having the ability to make these adjustments. And with this lunation, where these adjustments, where the new moon was in Virgo, where we made some minor adjustments in our life, and we're now experiencing the fruition of that. And because we are the moon in Aries is allowing us to take action on that fruition, and then the sun is reflecting how the outer world will express the reflection of that.
Yeah.
It's it's an opportunity for growth, is what I see. And I think it's really important that that we are able to take those steps without fear of making mistakes, because really, like you said, you can't really make a mistake. Those mistakes, or what we deem as mistakes, are growth or future knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The path to self-mastery, because Mercury also will make a trine to Pluto before moving into Libra. And Pluto, as we know, is culminating. Pluto is culminating in Capricorn. So it's pretty much saying that just move. It doesn't matter what you do, just move. Just keep
Yes.
moving. It doesn't matter, because whatever you do is better than doing nothing. And it's the procrastination, is the Virgo in lower vibration, where we just this analysis paralyzes, right? And it's just like we talk ourselves out of it, because we go like, well, let's not even bother, because I'm just gonna be humiliated. And I always say, even with what's going on in the world right now and stuff I've been talking about in my videos, who is the first one to throw the stone? You know, it's definitely ain't gonna be me. It ain't gonna be me, because, you know, who is the one to say I've never done anything I'm not proud of, or I know it all, or I'm perfect? Like, there is not a single human on this planet who can say that. And I mean, if they can, then they probably lying to themselves, because I mean, I really don't think there, you know, anybody would be able to, if they're being honest with themselves. Which again is just like looking at this other person experience with the compassion, because at the end of the day we still have this kite, you know, this there is this trine, the earth trine, and the, you know, this two sextiles from Uranus to Neptune, and from Pluto to Neptune, and Neptune is in opposition with Mercury. Is not exact yet, but it will take place a few days from now. And so there is this kite, and as we can see, it's still, you know, the precipice of that is this Mercury and the Neptune, which is this, you know, this
Yes.
logical and this spiritual, and is the 3-dimensional and the 5-dimensional, and we're trying to bring it to earth and ground it and put it into practical application. Because just as we were talking before recording, it's all easy to be spiritual and, you know, all this divine and all that, until we experience situation in our everyday mundane 3-dimensional reality where that gets tested. And then the
Yes.
universe say, okay, how are you going to put what you know logically into practice? How are we going to bring this 5D into 3D when we are encountering people like our family, like people from different background, people with different values, people with different whatever, you know? And it's not about I'm wrong, you're right, or, you know, I'm bad, you're good, or something. It's about how we can find the balance, the middle ground, so we can actually have a conversation, or we can find
Yes.
something that, because I feel that if we really get to the nitty gritty of the core base of being a human, I am pretty sure we would find more that connects than what divides us.
Yeah.
Because in essence, we are not that different, even though we are all unique.
Yes. I mean, it's the power of compromise. You know, Pisces, the Neptune energy is the totality, and it all came from the same place, and so it can all fit in the same place when you bring it down to the earthly plane. We're just having to adjust. We have to figure out how to do that. Compromise, I think, is the way to do it, you know.
It's the balance, because the compromise to me is like you have to sacrifice something of who you are and what matters to you, but it's the win-win. It's like, how can
It's
we
the
both
win-win.
win? Because otherwise it's like the win-lose. But like, how can we find a solution that would make both parties feel like they didn't have to lose something, but that
Yes.
everybody gets something, what, you know, something out of what they were wanting to achieve, even though it might be not exactly what we want, but we might find out, oh, that's exactly what I needed actually.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel that all this is going on in the sky at the same time, but at the end of it, the core of all of this is literally the relationships,
Yes.
and the new way of relating to one another, which is in no way to be judgmental or, you know, I know it all or anything. It's just like questioning and asking with the Mercury in Virgo, how can we do things differently? You know, because even like I always laugh about this, even though it's not funny. How much did we really learn as a human race in like 100 years, let's just say? Well, there is still a war, there is still a hunger, there is still poverty, there is still the fight, there is still division. So how much did we learn, you know, as a species, right? So, and it's again, it's not about judgment, it's about observation. So, okay, if in 100 years we still find ourselves technically in a very similar place as where we were 100 years ago, even though not the same, the details are different, but the energy is similar, then how can we perhaps make a different choice? You know, how we can maybe take a different standpoint and try something different and see where it leads us.
Yeah. And I think we need, that's the thing, is what we need to take that new step forward. But everybody wants to keep things the way that they are because that's safe and comfortable, even if it's bad. But I think that as we move in, as Pluto moves into Aquarius, we're going to be able to confront that part of us that is unique and to allow that to shine. And I think this is where we are now in this last quarter of the year, is to really close all of those old energies off, so that when Pluto moves into Aquarius, we are ready to begin anew and without fear, and be okay with making the mistakes and falling down and getting back up and either keep going or change a direction. The possibilities are endless, but we are going to make the shift and we're all going to be part of it.
Absolutely. And I feel that actually the mistakes are what makes us so beautiful, what makes us human, because I even find that, like I said, with my videos, that since I started actually sharing my personal application of astrology, my personal experience, I find that actually people appreciate it much more because it brings it down to earth. It's not just all this
Yes.
jargon and it's all very nebulous and unrelatable, because like, okay, but what it has to do with me? And I'm like, well, this is how it's showing up for me. Can you relate? And it's, again, there
Yeah.
is no right and wrong, but once again, this is just helping us to understand that we are actually not alone, and we are actually in essence experiencing a very similar things, even though, as I said, the details are different for you, for I, but it's
Mhm.
not that different. It's not like details are different, but the energy is not that different. And also with what you mentioned about the Pluto going into Aquarius and how that's going to accelerate everything, when Uranus moves into Gemini in 2026, well, there will be a completely different, cup of tea and all of that, because obviously Uranus, as the ruler of Pluto, will make a trine to Pluto in Aquarius at some point.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So this is again introducing the multidimensional aspect of this incarnation, that there is not just one reality, there is not just one timeline, there is just not this is right, this is wrong. Like, all that is going to be thrown out of the window, because even when we observe these current children, even though they are Capricorns, but still, they are very all inclusive. They don't really judge, they don't really care, and stuff like that. And I really feel that these are the children that they are. That's why it's so. I think that's why they're having such a hard time of being right here, right now, because it's like, where did we land? This place is not ready for us, because they are like, they came from the future. They came from the
Yeah.
future into the present, where they go like, why is this still going on around here? We've been here to like hundreds of years ago and it was the same story. And then this Jupiter is saying, don't worry, I got it, we're closing the story, but they're not quite ready
Yeah.
for it, so just hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
So it's just like, seriously, like sometimes you just have to try to make a light out of it, because it is heavy, it is not easy, because this is our stories, this is our life. But then from the hindsight, to understand that it really is just a story, and you can always write it again, you can always start again. And once we find that sense of authority and self-empowerment within, it's, in a sense, it makes it easier to make a mistake, because we know that, well, if I make mistake, I can just try again, right? And it also makes us more forgiving and compassionate towards others, because if we have that level of forgiveness and compassion towards ourselves, it's much easier to extend it towards others and understand that, okay, well, they do what I've done, they're just trying.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it builds resilience, you know,
Exactly. Yep, that's the word of
for
the day.
sure.
Resilience.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this Pluto and Capricorn generation does in the future. I was thinking while you were talking about that generation, I was thinking about how here on the farm, I get a lot of Pluto in Sagittarius generation,
Yep.
and they are pretty open. They have, at least the few that I have met, they just seem to be wide open and more accepting and just um, you know, curious about why. And yeah, they're a unique group of people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't have the same boundaries. They're a little bit more fluid. I think they're a very interesting group of people. Um,
I feel that this generation, Pluto Sag, they are the ones that are coming with the new ideas, like
yeah,
this new inspiration, this
yeah,
fire. And then the Capricorns, they will going to put it into manifestation.
Yes,
No,
into a structure that works for
yeah,
everybody.
we're
Yeah,
gonna
I see that.
create the frame, the boundary around it. And I mean, I have natally Pluto in the ninth house, so I really resonate with the Pluto Sagittarius because I have similar outlook on life, even though I'm Scorpio generation. Uh, because to me, like ever since I was born into this world, things don't make much sense. They don't make much sense. I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are we living this way? Like, I mean, I've been always questioning everything with my Jupiter in Aquarius first house
Right, right.
and my Mercury in Aries. But I think that's what we really need. We need to start questioning everything
Yeah,
because most of the things we were being told or taught or conditioned by, they are not even the truth. They are not even the truth. They are outdated. And is this? I actually had a conversation with someone today from Pluto Virgo generation, and even like that generation. I mean, you are Pluto Virgo as well, right? Like,
yep,
understand that these things. I mean, you are a unique case because you always knew this, but some people didn't. But even people from this generation, they are starting to understand that this is outdated now. We cannot keep doing this because the time has changed. The time has changed, and yes, there was a time where this was what we needed at the time, but the time has changed. It's moved. It's different
yes,
now, and in some cases. It's hard because people have this sense of loyalty where they want to preserve this tradition and these things staying the same, which is impossible with Pluto and Pluto ending its stint at Capricorn and just about to go into Aquarius. It literally is impossible. It is just not going to be able to stay the same because Pluto in Aquarius, it's saying we're going beyond, we're going the next level, ready or not, we're going
yes.
beyond, especially once Uranus moves into air sign of Gemini from fixed Taurus Earth energy, where he's just disrupting everything, all our attachments, all our fixations. And then he's like, okay, now you're ready to go into mutable
I mean,
Gemini.
I can't even imagine how that energy will look.
That's what I keep saying. We're all gonna be
Yeah,
telepathic.
just acceleration in all the communication, just the knowledge base will grow. I mean, I don't even know. That's just what I can come to right off the top of my head. Just and breaking old patterns of thought,
I think there will be
which
literally no limitation to what the human. I think the telepathy will become much more normal, right?
yeah,
Also the contact with the other dimensional beings and stuff like that. I mean, this is
sure.
again disclaimer, this is just my perception of reality. I'm in no way saying this is the universal truth because I know some people get triggered by this kind of topics, but I'm just saying how that energy feels to me with
Yeah,
Uranus going into Gemini. And we know that Gemini is this multiple perception of realities, multiple ways of identifying what one person can perceive, what one person can see. And when Uranus gets there, Uranus is like, okay, we break in all the limitations, all the previous patterns, everything. We're going beyond. Let me show you how far I can
wow,
take you
yeah,
with this. And with Gemini, I mean, I seriously, like, yeah, I don't think there is anyone on this planet right now, unless they are incarnated extraterrestrials that remember where they came from. I don't think many of us cannot comprehend what that means.
yeah,
We have to literally, because also between then and now, there will be all these eclipses between Aries and Libra, and then subsequently Virgo and Pisces going on between then and now, the next 3 years, and that a lot of things will take place. So I don't feel that our body and our mind, our psyche is ready for that yet, for that impact,
no,
because us as a dense being, as a carbon DNA, we have to adjust to that. Like these children, they already have the software. We don't have it. Like our generations, they don't have it yet. We have to adjust to that software, which is why we can observe these young generations struggling. They're struggling with allergies, with these behavioral issues and stuff like that, because they're attuned to something we are not attuned to yet. But
Yeah.
when that time will come, they'll be like, okay, now we are rolling. Now we are in our element, and we'll be like, oh, we're struggling. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot that needs to happen between now and then.
Yeah, and I think that we're in that process. We are, it's a slower process. The universe moves very slowly. Evolution takes a very long time. And we as individuals are actually the creators of the evolution. We are doing it through our inner growth step by step. And as we start taking our steps, and I know I've said this before, as we take our steps forward by breaking out of our own molds, other people see us do this. This is that Libra Aries opposition. Other people will see us do this and will also feel like they're empowered to do the same thing. And through that, we grow as a people. Oh, these people over here have got this solar house and they are, they don't have an electric bill. And oh, wow, they have, more money to do this or whatever. And eventually people will grow toward having solar or, whatever. That's just an example that I thought of right off the top of my head. But I feel like this is how it grows and how we evolve, and it's very slow. So we're just now in the phase where we are learning to relate to people differently. That's what the planets are saying to us now. We need to change the way we relate to ourselves and to other people. And we are moving through that in, year by year, very slowly. But this new moon, full moon, sorry, is taking us in that direction, the next step in that direction, where we don't need, we can make mistakes as we go forward. Aries is about just going ahead and doing it. See where it takes you. And we'll deal with how it affects our relationships. This is where we'll be making adjustments. Like you said, the relationship shifts will be, or could be, should be. I don't like to use the word should, but win-win. We'll make compromises, but the compromise can also be a win-win. But it's where we're not going to be pushing our own selves down to allow another person to have theirs. That's not going to fly anymore.
Yeah.
And
And I also feel that the whole relationships and what we define as a relationships at the moment, that's going to completely change.
Yeah,
because I feel the current structure of relationships and how we operate in a society is making people feel very alone, very lonely, very vulnerable, because it's just like it's not the way that we are actually designed to be. Like we are like most of us. I mean, okay, I like having a lot of time on my own, but most people, they need someone, they need people, we need people. Like it doesn't matter if it's few or many, and how often, and how for how long period, but because it's the Libra, I need you to mirror to me who I am. I need to know I exist by you being there. Otherwise, how do I know I'm even alive, right? So like we are social creatures, and at the moment, the way the relationships are defined is kind of making people feel very imprisoned, in a sense that there is all this rigid, regular. And again, each to their own. I'm in no way advocating for anything here. I'm just again saying that people will start questioning things and saying, but why does it have to be this way? And what if this is not what makes me happy? And maybe that makes me feel restricted and stuff. So obviously we are just on the beginning of the journey, and how it's going to eventually look, nobody knows. But there has to be a change, because like when we look at the state of the world, I mean, like what is the divorce ratio now, like 50% or more? Probably more. So I mean, obviously we've tried, and that doesn't particularly work for us, this model this model of relating to one another. So we know that we are due for an upgrade in that area as well. And when we change the relationship to ourselves, then it creates a ripple effect where everything else around us will change. And yeah, like, I mean, in a sense, I'm excited because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, where is this going to take us? Let's get excited about it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm looking forward to how everything is going to shift, and I am not afraid to do my part, whatever that is. So,
Same
I'm just,
here.
yeah, I'm flowing with what excites me and what makes me feel like it's the right direction, and moving away from what makes me feel stifled.
Exactly.
That's my journey. My personal journey is that. And as I do that, and yeah, I have fear, but I'm gonna do it anyway
But
because
fear
the
is the
stifledness is making me, I just can't do it anymore.
exactly, and that's what I mean. It's going to become so unbearable that people will rather choose to change. And it's like either you change or die. Literally, it's getting to that point that I just feel like, even though I'm still breathing, I feel dead inside. So I really feel that that's pretty much where we get in, that people just feel this pressure that something has to give. And like, I know ourselves, like you and I, and there are a lot of people obviously in a similar situation where people are leaving behind this security and stability of what we were told is safe and secure, which is turning out to be an illusion anyway. But this, like, oh, you need to have this rigid 5 or 10 year plan, and your house and your mortgage and your job and whatever, and work towards next promotion, and I don't know, whatever it is that we are being conditioned to go towards and stuff. And I know from my experience of this past summer, when I attended the Digital Nomad Festival in Bulgaria, how many people are not doing that anymore? They're saying, well, I rather go with less. Actually, it makes me happier because I have less to worry about. But I am not doing that anymore. I am not working like a slave, 9 to 5, 6 days a week for 60 years or whatever, 50. For
Yeah,
what? For what? For the next
yeah,
iPhone or something? I
yeah.
mean,
The bank account doesn't go up because the inflation is going up at the same time. It costs more to live, and it's
yeah,
a
it's just.
on the wheel. So
And this is all part of this Venus now stationing direct in Leo and squaring Uranus and Jupiter, because it's saying this story is outdated. It's not going to support us any longer. And Uranus in Taurus has been doing a good job since 2018, making us to reevaluate everything. And now with Jupiter being there, Jupiter is expanding everything it touches, including this potential uh, imbalance or this reevaluation that's going on inside of us. So I really feel that we are living, and I always keep saying that, even though, again, it could be triggering for some people, we are living in the most exciting times, even though it is scary. Yes, for sure. I'm not saying that I have it figured out. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but it's
right,
it's exciting.
it is exciting. Yeah,
Because there is all this potential, like with Aries, with the first sign of the zodiac, everything is a possibility. It's like the
yeah,
Fool cards in tarot. It's like everything is a possibility, whatever you want it to be. So seeing one structure falling apart, yeah, there's gonna be the transition period in between, the old to die and the new to be birthed, but everything is a possibility right now.
yeah,
So why not to choose the best possible timeline, because everything is available. And this is a full
yeah.
moon in Aries, which is just like you said, it's the next step towards it, because the first one was the eclipse. This one, even though it's not technically eclipse, but it's very potent.
Yes,
So
it is. I mean, it's close, but
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. We
yes,
have the opportunity to write our own future at this
yeah,
time, and it
exactly,
hasn't been that way. It hasn't
exactly.
been that way. And we're beginning to see, and I think this is probably the influence of Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus, that it's expanding this view. We're beginning to see that really we can, and it'll be trial and error because we haven't done it. The world's been laid out for us, and we've had to kind of follow suit, but the energies are such where that's starting to fall away, And we're being driven from within to step out and do something new, something that makes us happy and gives us inspiration, and perhaps will change the way the world is. We can only know by trying.
And we will. There is no question about it. I have absolutely no question about the fact that the world is going to be a completely different place in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
Now, how are we going to get there, and like what is technically going to look like for all these different people who potentially might not want to make the same choice as someone else? I don't know. I don't know the details of any of this, but I know
Yeah.
for sure that this world will be a very different place by the time Pluto will move into Pisces. I know that for sure. And
Oh, yeah.
and I always say that you are the creator of your reality based on your, thoughts and belief systems. So if somebody told you you can start your life from the scratch, what would you choose? And why not to focus on that rather than talk yourself out of it and saying how impossible that is? But why not choose the best possible timeline for yourself? And
Yeah.
this full moon in
I love
Aries is
that.
definitely giving you the fire under your belly or in your belly to say that, yeah, like all you need to do is just to shift your relationship towards the world, because the Libra is really the other, which is everything that is outside of you. Is the world, is the society, is the system, it's everything. It's literally everything. So yeah, just with the Mars now closing phase with South Node, just about to have a conjunction and start the new cycle with the South Node, you can change everything you
Yeah.
want. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Cool. Should we wrap this up?
Let us. Yeah. This has been good. Yeah. I'm glad we talked about this, because it's how I feel about it. It's how it seems to be happening in my life. So, and then I can see it there on the wheel. So I think
Yeah.
that it's good to share that with people so that, they can look for those clues within themselves,
Yeah. And just
and
question.
begin to write the story for themselves.
Exactly. Like what got me to this point, and why would I want to continue this journey if it's not what I want? How can I choose something different?
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome.
Awesome. I'm
So
gonna
this
take the
was,
wheel off.
yep, let's do that. So this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining
Yes,
me
thank
as
you for
always.
having me.
And
I,
I would like you to tell people about your offering that you have going on over there, Adrienne.
well, I have an essential needs course that I've put out, and you can reach out to me on my either on my Facebook page. You can email me at heartplace@peoplepc, and I can send you the course. We did the course live as a trial retreat, which was very successful. We had a really good experience with learning about the dynamics of relationships, and how to find the way you relate to people in the astrological chart. And if you have relationships that keep repeating and are not fulfilling, that there are reasons why that's happening. And so yeah, it's a pretty interesting course, and just reach out to me, and I can get that to you.
Yeah, and I think it's a perfect time exactly for this kind of course because of the Libra season, because of everything else that we just talked about, and approaching the eclipse season, first one of which will be in Libra. So this is definitely the spotlight is on relationships right now. Let's just face it, more than ever. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's super affordable. So I will put the link to your email and your social media so people can find you. And yeah,
great. Thank you.
definitely, I feel that would definitely would be very useful to many people right now.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And yeah, and for me, I actually, the one thing that changed since our last recording is that my website was now launched unexpectedly, very quickly. It happened thanks to the help of very special people in my life, especially Haley from Conscious Creations, who made it happen. Tied up the loose ends very quickly with her Aryan energy. So, if you guys want to
Beautiful.
find my offering, it's on www.moonlightsoul369.com. So, that's where you find me now. and of course all my social media as well.
Yay, congratulations on your
Thank
launching.
you. So thank you so much once again. I hope that you found the value in this. If you did, please like, subscribe to our channels, and yeah, we'll keep the stuff coming.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.